Shalom, Makim, only of all praises and glory to Yahweh Bashem, Yahshai Bashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, GMS for teaching the rule well. And salutations to all the Akim, all four corners, earth, fruition, and truth and sincerity. Shalom, Makim. I'm going to get into this little article right here. I seen a brother put this video up, and he dwelled into this article right here. And this is a subject I bring up every now and then because, this was one of the wars that we lived through, and we seen, the atrocities on TV that were going on. And, there was a song that said, revolution will be televised, and we're seeing these wars that are televised. So yes, Esau did televise a war, this Bosnian war that happened in the 90s. This was under President Bill Clinton. And it was through the spirit that the brother bought this video out, and I was like, man, let me go ahead and land back off this video. And primarily one of the reasons I use a video because we have a lady who's in my neighborhood. She's a pretty peculiar lady that she, most people in my neighborhood are black, and she's an Edomite in this neighborhood. But when you look at her face, you could tell that she's Eastern European. Well, not everybody, but I could tell, I know the difference through the face structure and just the way she dressed and her style. I could tell she's not an American white girl. American Edomite, I could tell she's not. She's from Europe. But the thing about her is that, she walks to the neighborhood and she just talks to herself all the time. That's one strike. The second strike is that in the summertime, she wears a long winter coat. It could be 100 degrees outside. She still got this long winter coat on, and she's always walking up and down the street talking to herself. And, nobody bothers her, but I could tell because I know things that happen upon the world and things that went on. I know that she's not normal. I know that she's not from America. I know she's not an American white girl. And as long as I've been living in this neighborhood about 4 or 5 years, I've seen her, and she doesn't disturb anybody or anything, but she just walks up and down through the neighborhood with a long coat on. And she just be talking to herself. And it's not English. It's one of those Eastern European dialects that she's speaking. And I get out of it, you know what I'm saying? Me using my brain, I get out of it that she's from one of those war-torn countries, whether it was Georgia, they got invaded a few years ago by Russia, or whether it was through this Bosnian war. But somehow, some way, I think that she came from one of those war-torn countries, and she has been traumatized because, she don't bother nobody. She don't say nothing to nobody. She just walks up and down the street, having a full conversation with herself, like it's her family right next to her and stuff. So her mind is still, wherever her country got torn apart at or whatever, But just going to say, with this article, this says 1 year in hell, surviving a full SHTF collapse on Bosnia. Shit hits the fan, collapse in Bosnia. Because this is one thing that people don't understand, man. They don't like to deal with history. They don't like to deal with reality. Hell, they don't even like to deal with history, but they ain't gonna show a damn deal with reality neither. And reality is that war is knocking at the doorstep, man. The world is preparing for war, and you dumb Americans are preparing for the next basketball championship or baseball. Baseball just started, so you'll be looking to go to those baseball games. And Lord willing, to have one of those baseball games, the attacks happen, so people could scatter, because the Lord loves people who's you idiots in your comfort state, and then He all of a sudden pulls the rug up under your feet, so to speak. But let me bring some of this article, because this has to do with what we've been trying to tell the people, man. And I'm gonna bring out some of these beginning points, because these are some good points that he brought out. He says that mainly in the precious metals community are eagerly anticipating a complete systematic collapse of the financial system, because as purpose, they expect to not only survive, but to prepare in a shit hits the fan scenario. We suspect, however, that following most read account of surviving the Bosnian War in the midst of a complete collapse of the grid and financial collapse will be eye-opening, and just how difficult it is to survive on a full-on Mad Max scenario, even if one has spent years prepping for it. So that's a cut to all these preppers out here who got these underground bunkers and these different things going on, and they've been prepping for so long. They've been waiting for these things to happen. What does the article say, man? You know, a full Mad Max completion, man. You could have been prepping for years. You really don't know what's gonna happen, man. It just says I am from Bosnia between 92 and 1995, and that's when the war was going on that I was speaking about. You know, and the article going to speak on it too. It's going to tell about how, you know, the snipers and things, how people try to cross the stores, how your everyday. I'm going to read the article. It's going to tell it. It says, for 1 year, I lived and survived in a city with 6,000 people without water, electricity, gasoline, medical help, civil defense, distribution services, and any kind of traditional service or centralized rule. What is that? He says civil defense. That's your local police, you know. In the time of when SHTF hits the fan, ain't no more police, ain't no more medical people. You call 911 all you want to. You're gonna be talking to not even the operator. The operator's not even at work no more. You'll be talking to the dial tone. DT, like we used to say back in the day. You want to talk to my best friend DT? That's a dial tone. You know. He says, and that's what happens, man. When the society collapses, everything is up for grabs. Like I said, it says 92 and 95. I remember those few years when that happened. It was all hell breaking loose over there, man. Let me read some more of this article so I can give you, so I can expound on what I'm speaking about, because I remember. He says, we here in America didn't really live through it, but we seen images on TV. You know, I always came home to watch the news. My mom had me in the news around that time, so I was watching the news and seeing how those snipers were taking out people, and this how it was going down, man. He says, money soon became worthless. And that's what's gonna happen in a lot of these countries, man. America especially, man, where our government continuously prints out money. You know, this money is called fiat currency. It's based upon nothing, man. It has no backing. They pulled the backing of the gold and the silver standard out around 1800s, I want to say. Around the beginning 1900s, they changed the standard from, they just backed everything on fiat, on reserve currency around the time. At one point, the dollar was backed by gold and silver, you know. But then they pulled it out, and now in the 70s, they put it as reserve currency for oil. So it's changed what it was backed by throughout time, man. That's what Esau's done. He said money soon became worthless. We returned to an exchange for a tin can of Tushka, Soviet spam, and you could have a woman. And truthfully, man, in the times you're coming in, man, you ain't gonna be thinking about a woman. You will think about yourself, man. The man gonna go in depth into this article about how all these lone wolves out here, how they gonna get chopped up, man, in times to come. Ain't no time to be no lone wolf. He says, arms, ammunition, candles, lighters, antibiotics, gasoline, batteries, and food. We fall for these things like animals. In these situations, it changes. Men become monsters. Men become monsters, man. That's why I say you ain't gonna be thinking about no woman, man. A woman gonna be the least thing over your worries, man. Because you gotta realize, in order for you to have sex with a woman, that's energy you're wasting, you know. And yeah, we all lust for women at times, you know, at the same time. But that's because we got food, we got water, we got rest around here. But in time of war, you know, yeah, a man might lust for a woman, but after he gets that bang, he out of there. So all this laying up with a woman and pleasing her until she's ready to have her climax is a wrap. We ain't gonna be caring about that no more in these times to come, man. He says strength was in numbers. For a man living alone, getting killed and robbed would be just a matter of time, even if he was armed. Even if he was armed, man. So all that lone wolf stuff, these brothers trying to do their own thing, man, that ain't gonna mean nothing in the days to come, man. Nothing, man. And he says, let me bring back the money soon became worthless. We returned to an exchange for a tin can of Tusha, Soviet spam. You could have a woman. It was hard to speak of it, but it was true. Most of the women who sold themselves were desperate mothers, man. What do we have going on here in America? Remember single moms, man. You got a gang of single moms, man. Any summer day, you go walk down the street, you'll see a whole caravan of baby mamas pushing the strollers with the babies in them, And they got the different color hairs and different color outfits on with a different color matching shoes. You see a whole caravan, 8 to 10 of them walking down the street. Future baby mamas and future babies of America in the cart with them. You know, to continue on this boring legacy, this lifeless legacy here in Babylon. That's what they got going on, man. An endless circle. That's all Babylon has. It shows an endless circle. Let me bring some verses out. This is I'm gonna get into this. This is 2nd Esdras 15:14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. For the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. And this right here, this Bosnian thing, this was nothing more than a straight the government collapsing and straight civil war, man. This was a straight civil war. Here it is. I'm bringing it. The city was divided. I have to move in the city. The city was divided into communities along streets. Our street, 15 and 20 homes, had patrols, 5 armed men every week to watch for gangs and for our enemies, man. So not only did they have to worry about their own people, you had to worry about the enemy. The other countries, they was like civil war. This was the Bosnian and this is the Bosnian and who is this? The Bosnians and so I'm trying to get the name right. Starts with S. Bosnian and Serbia. That was the country. So you had one country at one point, and in the midst of of everything going good, you have another side of the country that wants to split for independence, and that caused a civil war. You know, whether one side 9 times out of 10 was for Russia, and the other side was for NATO. That's what starts a lot of these civil wars in Eastern Europe. You know, a lot of countries split because they don't want to go back to their old Russian Soviet ways, you know. So they have splits. And that was all, you know, NATO's plan from the jump, you know, to go in there and cause division. Nothing new. That's what Esau does. But yeah, so they had gangs walking down the street, robbing people and taking advantage of people, and all that lone wolf stuff was thrown out the door, man. You know. So let me continue on with the 2nd Esdras real fast. He says 2nd Esdras 15 and 15. For the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor their princes. Man, in these different areas. Let me read some more down, because we're going to talk about how they just turned on their government, man. The government was done with, man. You know? The government was over. Here's the thing about the woods. He says, what about the wood? Your home city is surrounded by woods. Why did you burn the doors and furniture? There were not that many woods around the city. It was very beautiful. Restaurants, cinemas, schools, even an airport. And so that's, you know, that goes to these people dwelling in cities and stuff, man. When all hell hits, they block off your exit routes, man. All your exit routes are blocked off. So what you think you can get to the waterfront, you think you get to the maneuver around the city, all that is trapped. They did a drive run here in downtown Chicago. They cut off downtown Chicago. All you had to do was look at the bridges and block off the other sections of the points that are entering downtown. And they did that all because niggas were going down there hitting these Louis Vuitton and Gucci stores. You know, niggas were going crazy for that. So they blocked off the downtown. They showed you how to do that. He says every tree in the city in the city park was cut down for fuel in the first 2 months. So what you see outside, all your trees, all that beautiful stuff that gets cut down in time when SHTF hits the fan, man. It gets cut down. There was another point I want to bring. Oh, he said lighters was the most important, precious things. He says because a lot of these preppers, they got these generators. They think they're worth something, man. He said a generator ain't gonna do nothing but bring the enemies to you, because you have bands of gangs out here, man. And this Bosnian stuff didn't just last a few months and then it was over. This lasted a few years, and they finally went back to normalcy. But guess what? When things gonna hit America, you ain't going back to normalcy. It's not going back. The happy life of society will be turned upside down, man. He says, let me get back to this. He says, 2nd Esdras 15 And 16, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, they shall not regard the kings nor princes. In their courses of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. I just told you how they cut these cities off, man. If ever you were a traveler and you go down these states and you travel through the states, you can see how they have these different barriers to cut off different state lines, man. You know, going from certain entries on the highway. You have certain state lines that could be cut off at a drop of a dime, man. This day we about to do it all, man. But yeah, I just want to point out some few things and bring out the second Ezra 15 and let them know, you know. Oh, let me bring this verse out too as well. It says, second Ezra 15 and 18. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. And that's Babylon here in America. They're very prideful here in America, man. They got different shows, they got different lifestyles. They cater to these prideful people. So all that pride gonna be cut off. And your so-called strong men, they're gonna be running. They're gonna be running because there ain't gonna be no strong men in these days coming, man. You know, them strong solo dudes, man, they're gonna be jacked up, man. These buff dudes, they're gonna be messed up in these times, man. Because if they ain't got the Lord, they're gonna be messed up, man. You can be as swole as you want to, but if you ain't got the Lord, it's gonna get ugly out here, man. And I just want to bring this second address out and apply it to these verses because bring out something else. Bring this out real fast is Matthew 24 and 12. And because inequity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold, man. It's getting wax cold out here, man. You know, so be prepared, man. And if the Lord ain't dealing with you, you can be prepared as all you want to. Because like I read earlier in the article, you have preppers that are prepared and they ain't got the Lord. They just prepared. They just believe in themselves. And the Lord don't deal with that, man. You lone wolves will be eaten up, man. With that being said, I'm just edifying. Shalom, Maki.